Shalom, this is Shira Sherbo coming to you from Sfat, Israel, and Torah for the Nations. So it is so exciting here in Israel, and I just want to tell you what's going on. It's like our spring break. The kids are off from school for like 9 days, and we are about to celebrate the Passover. So I don't know if you know what the Passover is, or if you've heard of it, or you kind of know what it is, but I was going to just give it to you in a nutshell. What is this holiday of the Passover? Bottom line, 2 things you need to know. Passover is about freedom, and it's forever. So I'm just going to read to you a little bit of something I wrote up, and I hope you enjoy the story. So the story of Passover has a villain and a hero. It has people who are being mistreated, crying for help, and then someone comes to their rescue, and they are set free from the clutches of the evil villain. It's a forever story because it's a story about a relationship, and the relationship is so strong and it will last forever, for all time. It's a story of freedom. The Egyptian Pharaoh is the villain, and he has made slaves of the Hebrews. The Hebrews work every day, never a day off, never a time to look forward to, never a holiday, never take a vacation. They work so hard they can hardly come up for air. They have not really a life, it's just a miserable existence. So this is a forever story because this is a story about a miracle, how they were rescued from their bondage. Every generation can hear the story and know that they can also receive a miracle because God is forever. God is not changing. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So if he made a miracle for the Hebrew slaves, he can also make a miracle for us in our generation. Passover is a freedom story because the people were finally given a chance to make a choice. Their whole life, they couldn't think or make plans or make any decisions about what they wanted to do with their life. They couldn't have thoughts like, why am I here? What is my purpose? The slaves were not free to have any of these thoughts because they were being controlled by Pharaoh every day. Every day was only what Pharaoh wanted, never what they wanted. They couldn't do what they wanted or say what they wanted. There was no freedom of speech, no freedom to do anything. But that was all about to change. Passover is a forever story that is told from parents to children, and it's never to be forgotten. God said, tell this story of freedom to your children for all future generations. Let it be an everlasting story, and you think about it when you go out and when you come in and when you lie down and when you get up. Always remember, never forget to talk about this story and make sure you pass it down. Passover is a freedom story because it turns out that the villain, Pharaoh, made a law that the Hebrew slaves could not even get married and have children. What he said was, well, if you have a baby girl, she can live. But if you have a boy, he has to be drowned in the river. So who would want to get pregnant and take the risk to have a boy only to have that baby taken from you and drowned? But Pharaoh had a daughter, and she thought it was horrible what her father was doing. And one day she was down by the river, and she heard the Hebrew baby boy crying, and he was floating down the river in a basket that his mother had made for him and put him in. She got the baby, and she said, I'll call you Moses. And she said, you can come live in the palace with me. So Passover is a forever story, and they've even made some movies about it. One is called The Prince of Egypt, and one is called The 10 Commandments. And this would be a good tradition to start watching one or both of these movies to learn the story of Passover and to teach it to your children. I was about 10 years old when my dad took us to the movies to see Charlton Heston and the 10 Commandments on the big screen. And it's probably one of the greatest movies of all time. It's good to have these movies because it helps to see the story, and it's a teaching aid to pass down to the next generation. So Passover is a freedom story because when baby Moses grew up, God spoke to him from a burning bush, and he said, go tell Pharaoh to let my people go. It's a forever story because here we are over 3,000 years later, and we all know that famous sentence, let my people go. So something interesting about those forever words. They are words that show a relationship. my people. So the hero of the story, he's about to enter the scene, and he's getting ready to rescue the Hebrew slaves. And he doesn't say, go tell Pharaoh to let the slaves go. But he says these words that show a relationship. Tell Pharaoh to let my people go. So we see that there's a forever relationship that is forming. He says, let my firstborn son Israel go, in Exodus chapter 4. So a firstborn son, this is a forever relationship. If someone is your son, it can't ever change. Passover is a freedom story because God says he's going to show Pharaoh his strength and his power, and he's going to send 10 plagues to convince Pharaoh to let my people go. And Pharaoh says, no, 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 no. And finally Pharaoh says, okay, they can go. But here's an interesting situation. Where does the hero want to bring the slaves? To the beach? To a luxury island? God shows up, and he's there to rescue the slaves, and he says, I want you to come with me out to the desert, and I want you to be my people. Just trust me on this. So the desert, no water, no food, no shelter from the heat, snakes, scorpions. And you know what most of the slaves did? They said, no thanks, we'll just remain slaves in Egypt. We don't want a relationship with you. We don't want you to be our God or our Father or our protector or our provider. We don't know you, and we don't want to know you, and we don't know how we can trust you. So we'll just keep doing what we've always done. And who knows, maybe things will get better in Egypt. We're not leaving. We're staying here. So it was a hard choice. So freedom isn't easy. Freedom is scary. Freedom is leaving behind what we know and grabbing onto the unknown. And it takes a lot of courage to change your situation from slavery to freedom. So only about 1/5 of the slaves actually left Egypt. So Passover is a forever story because there's a forever relationship forming. In a forever relationship, it's where I can ask you for stuff and you ask me for stuff, and it's not one-sided. One person's not using the other person. Both people in the relationship have a role. They each have to do their part. That's how you make a forever relationship. You agree on what you should do, and you both keep your promises. Otherwise, the relationship's not going to be forever. But God's plan is that this relationship is going to be forever. And he says, your family's going to be talking about our relationship thousands of years from now. And we are. We are still talking about this relationship that God had with the Hebrew slaves. He called them his people. You are my people, and I am your God. And it's a beautiful forever relationship to be talked about for all future generations. So it's the story of freedom. Passover is about freedom, and freedom is scary. And it requires guts and boldness, and whatever I have to do, I'm going to do. So God said, I will save you from Pharaoh, but here's what you have to do. Because so far, God has been doing all the work. He's the hero, Pharaoh's the villain, and God is showing his power to Pharaoh, sending the plagues, and then God says, now there's something I need you to do. Remember, this is a relationship, a partnership. I do my part, you do your part. What you slaves need to do is show everybody without a doubt whose side you're on, and let me know 100% that you will come out with me to the desert. Let me know you're done with Pharaoh, you're ready to leave. Who's it going to be? Me or Pharaoh? Stay in Egypt or go with me to the desert? So what did they have to do? The Egyptians had many gods, many idols. They were false gods, not real. People would pray to these false gods and try to get the gods to do things for them. But God said, I am the only true God. Pharaoh's not God. I created Pharaoh. The Nile River's not God. I created the Nile River. And they believed that the lamb was God. And God said, that lamb is not God. I created the lamb. He said, take that lamb and roast it. Eat it for dinner and show Pharaoh that this God means nothing to you. And then take the lamb's blood and put it on your doorpost so that everyone will know, is the lamb your God or is the God of Moses your God? Which one do you choose? That night, God sent the angel of death to kill the firstborn Egyptians, but to everyone who chose to eat the lamb God and put his blood on the door, God saved them. And then they left so quickly that they didn't even have time to let the dough rise. They were going to bring some bread with them in the desert, but instead they brought flat matzah crackers. This was very pleasing to God when the people didn't hesitate. No, we choose you, God. We're ready right now. So this is 3 names for this holiday. The Freedom Holiday, and it's the Passover holiday because the angel of death passed over them and their children lived. And it's also the holiday of the matzah because they left Egypt in such a hurry that the bread did not have time to rise. So this is a forever story because we're still talking about this story, and we still have a Passover Seder, which we do things in a certain order around the table. Seder means order. And we use visual aids. Every teacher knows that you need visual aids. We have foods and symbolism, and we tell the story. It's very hands-on because that's the way people learn. So the family is still here, the relationship is still going, and we know the end of the story, and it's a forever story. So let me end by reading you this passage from the prayers that we say every day, and listen for the words that show a strong relationship, and listen for the words that are forever words, okay? True and certain, established and enduring, right and faithful, beloved and cherished, delightful and sweet, awesome and mighty, correct and acceptable, good and beautiful is this to us for all eternity. Truly, the God of the universe is our King. The stronghold of Jacob is the shield of our deliverance. He endures, and his name endures throughout all generations. His throne is firmly established, and his sovereignty and his truth abide forever. His words are living and eternal, faithful and pleasant forever, and to all eternity. For our fathers, for us, for our children and our descendants, and for all the generations of the progeny of Israel, your servants, from the first to the last generations. Your word is good and eternal in truth and trustworthiness, a law that will never be abrogated. Truly, you are the Lord our God and the God of our fathers, our King, the King of our fathers, our Redeemer, the Redeemer of our fathers, our stronghold, the stronghold of our salvation, our deliverer and rescuer, which is your name from of old. We have no other God besides you ever. So, this is a freedom story because all of us need freedom from something. Okay, so we can take this story that's 3,000 years old or more and make it relevant for us. We're all in bondage. We can either be in bondage to our anger, depression, laziness, procrastination, fear, worry, all the addictions out there that we're in bondage to: food, alcohol, drugs, gambling, cigarettes, debt, whatever. So we hear this forever story, and we connect to the God who said, I am the Lord your God who took you out of bondage. We connect to the God who wants a relationship, a partnership, who says, you do your part and I will do mine, and we will together free you from your bondage. Give up your false modern day idols. Let God know who you choose. You choose him and he will be your God. Then hurry and go on one exciting adventure with him into the desert and come out on the other side, and then tell your own freedom from bondage story. And don't think for 1 second that it's going to be easy or that you get anything for free. And this is from a country western song, John Anderson. Freedom isn't free, it never was and never will be. There's always been a price to pay. Freedom isn't free, it's been passed down to you and me. So this Passover story is a forever story about the high cost of freedom, and it's for all people in every generation. So if you like this video, give us a like, press subscribe to our Torah for the Nations YouTube channel. All right, Hag Sameach, happy Passover from Israel. See you soon.